Hi there, this is Sheila Kamuda with Organizational Effectiveness. This time I'm going to talk about things that might be helpful for managers, especially if you're a first-time manager. And so what's really very important is, number one, one-on-ones. And a lot of people think these are a waste of time or crazy or silly or they don't really know how to do them and how do you do these things. But really they are very important. They don't have to be long and lengthy. You can go out for coffee if you want. The important thing to remember is that each staff member is different and they will need different things from you. You'll have a staff member who is a stellar performer. They don't really need a lot. They just want you to be there when they're in trouble and they want to be able to ask you a question. That's all that they need from you. There will be other staff members who need a lot of nurturing. Maybe they're young, maybe they're new, that maybe they just need to be told they're doing a good job, and that's what they need from you. There are some that may want to review goals. Where are they going? What are they doing? They may want to talk about a raise. How do I get paid? That sort of thing. So each staff member will want something different. I think the key is that through these one-on-ones, they'll really help you with performance reviews if you do that in your company. So also for performance reviews, if you've never done them before, there are a lot of times staff members really don't know what to do and they're nervous about them. So even though it's their meeting, which means that you are listening, you are supportive, so yes, it's the staff members' meeting, you don't want them to sit there and be struggling and have it awkward. So you really have to have an agenda. And even if that agenda has just one item, that's okay. The item can be, how is it going? Do you have any challenges? How's your latest project coming? Do you see any obstacles? Anything you need my support on? How excited are you about that project that's coming up? What are your main goals? Are you thinking about any goals that you have? Are your tasks overwhelming? Can you take on more? Just all sorts of questions you can start with. Not all of these, but you would ask one of these just to get the conversation started. And no matter what the employee responds, you're showing them that you're supportive and you never have a hidden agenda. You would never use this information in a negative way. So that's the one-on-one. You're really building trust with the employee, and it's a really wonderful way also to get to know people. So even if you have an amazing performer, and there's really no reason for a one-on-one, there really is. You really want to get to know the person. You want to get to know what makes them happy, what keeps them happy, and how you can retain them, because your staff are the most important resources you have, and you want to make them feel good. And even if you have a stellar performer, I've known many people like this, that they still want to know that you appreciate them. They still want to know that their work is valued, and that one-on-one can do it. It's not a lot of pomp and circumstance. It's just a quick little, you're doing a great job. I recognize the value you're bringing to the company. Okay, so the one-on-ones are very, very valuable, and they're a pulse check is what they are. And after a few of these also, the employee will know what to bring to the table. And you can even suggest, hey, when you go back to your desk and from now until the next one-on-one, think about things you want to talk about. And if something comes up, jot it down so you're ready to roll and we can talk about whatever is on your mind. That's the key also. You want to let them know is anything that's on their mind, they can bring up to you. You are there for them. You're a sounding board. Okay? Okay. The other thing is in terms of performance reviews, and a lot of companies are doing away with performance reviews, I'm reading, because they have these one-on-ones and the one-on-ones are so good. But if you do a performance review, it's basically a formal written piece of paper that talks about goals and talks about performance, so anybody can refer to it. If you want to just use it for that reason, that's great, just something to refer to. And I think that it doesn't have to be lengthy, but some of the main topics on it would be basic job knowledge. Does the employee understand the basic tasks and responsibilities of the job? And does the employee proactively take on these responsibilities? Another thing would be communication. Does the employee communicate professionally with staff? Do they share thoughts and ideas appropriately? And do they control emotion under pressure? Another one could be teamwork. Do they value team interactions and work well effectively with others? Another one could be customer focus. When we talk about customer focus, people think of always external customers, but really people you work with are your internal customers. So how are you working with your internal customers? Are you giving them what they need? Are you providing them what they need? If they need anything from you, that's your internal customer. So how is that working? And if all those things are in place, you've got a pretty well-oiled machine. Besides that, so the performance review, I would always give that filled out performance review to the employee a couple of days, or at least a day before the review, so they can take a look at it. There's nothing to hide. Everything's transparent. Doing a great job. This is what we want to talk about. This is what we want to focus on. And there are things to talk together about, and we'll do that during the review. But this gives them a heads up, so there's no fear, there's no stress. They know exactly what they're going to be looking at. And prior to the performance review, it's also really helpful for an employee to do a self-evaluation. And these, all they need to be is 4 items. The items are basically, what accomplishments have you had in the past year, the past 6 months, whatever. And it's not the tasks you do. It's not, this is what I'm getting paid for, but it's an accomplishment besides that. What did you do? Did you bring something new to the job? What did you bring to the party? Was this something special that you did? Did you bring a special value? What was that accomplishment? And also, it's really important to note, it doesn't have to be something big or humongous. Anything, small even, is a huge accomplishment. A little accomplishment can have a huge impact on the business. That's really important. So another thing you might want to ask them to talk about is, where do you think you've grown in the past 6 months? Was there something you were trying to tackle and you were able to do it? Some new project you were trying to do and you accomplished it. And then where do you want to grow? It just gives them something to think about. Sometimes this is really hard to answer because people just don't know. This is my job. This is what I do. I don't know where I want to grow. They always think it's a senior level, but it's not necessarily that. Maybe it's learning one new facet or discovering a new way to do something that was always challenging. So they may need help answering that. And then the fourth part of that is, what can I do better? What can we do better? Which I just want to run back to one-on-ones. Very important to ask your staff always, how is this one-on-one going? Does this work for you? Is there something I could be doing better? Never apologize for your shortcomings, but is there something I could be doing better? Feedback is really amazing, and take the feedback. Feedback is really shows the employee you're truly on their side. So, okay, going back to self-evaluations, I think those are great. Have the employee fill them out 2 weeks before the performance review. This will really help you. You might notice an accomplishment there that you hadn't even thought of yourself. And it's really very helpful. At the end of the day, when you speak about the organization, you want to be as transparent as possible because you want commitment and you want buy-in from your employees. And you'll get that if you're transparent and they understand what the business is about and how they're part of it, how they're aligned to help the business. And you want to always show your staff that you have an open door policy, which means you are always there for them. Even though you have a ton of things to do, you're very busy, but you want them to know that they are the most important part of what's going on there. And they are valued, and it's okay to remind them of this often. Okay, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.